Life is a precious gift I love and hold dear, and my art is the best way to express my appreciation for the joy and happiness and wonderful blessings in my life. Welcome to Expression in Painting by Paul Creamy. Glad to be back. We're going to do a painting tonight. I brought in a couple of the paintings we've done the last couple of shows. This one's the last painting we did, and I wanted to show you what it looked like finished. It has this beautiful quietness and its largeness, and it feels, I think it feels really big in the sense that you really feel present to you. And this is the painting I did before that. So I brought these two paintings to show you, and you can see the similarities. They have a nice quality, and they're going to go nice together, this whole series. I have this idea that I'm going to do 77 paintings, and I've got 7 of them done so far, so I only got 70 more to go. So tonight, I brought in this canvas, and I brought in this particular photograph. I'll hold it up. And I'll hold it up for Ted, and you can see it. So it's in line with the other 2 paintings. It has the same colors, the same feeling, and that's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to put this up here on the easel, and I'm going to start to paint. What I'm going to do is start off with a small brush, and I'll sketch in the picture, and then we'll start to paint. And we'll see how it goes. I've got the painting going sideways too, like the photograph. You know, you got to plan all of this stuff. You got to think about all of this stuff. Everything that you do in art requires some kind of preparation, some kind of thought. You don't need to get crazy about it, but you need to do it. So here we go. So what I'll do is I'll use gesso, which is the color with the paint they use to cover the canvas, and I'll sketch in the still life. We got this base here, we got this one right here. And don't spend a lot of time doing this. You know, just put it down, because it's going to change anyways. This is the part I love the most, because I've always loved black and white. I'd love to see this thing just stay the way it is, but it can't do that. So we got this beautiful green vase, and it's got this big circle here, like this. And it goes down like that. And we're off and running. Got this beautiful orange right here, sitting there like that. You know, I'm not putting any time into any of the drawings. I'm just going to put this down. Got this gorgeous blue vase. I love this vase. I bought this vase at the at a art show at the Mass Art. One of the students did it. And I bought it in the 80s, and I love it. I've had it all these years. It's one of my favorite vases. I've moved it so many times. It's unbelievable. And we got this red one back here. You know, these circles, they look easy. You know, you just throw these circles down, but they can drive you crazy if you let them. I don't let anything drive me crazy. I just do what I do. And I tell people, you know, you just act like you know what you're doing, and you're going to do it. That's the key. There's this thing they say in our Catholic faith about, you know, they say if you act like you already know it's there or it's present, you have this inner experience with religion and God's present to you. That's the way painting is. Painting is present. So we got this thing sketched out. You see all these crazy lines, but they're holding it together. So we'll do something. We'll start off with one of the other brushes. I think I'll do the orange first. I'm just going to block it in. I'm not going to spend any time doing any great detail. Yeah, there's an orange. Look at that. Super. I love the green table. Green table's really cool. Let's do the green table. And it does have a little black here, but I'm going to try to skip some of this stuff. I love what's going on in the background too. Good. Now this green vase, a little darker, so we're going to go to the darker green. It's really light in this photograph. But you know something? I'm going to tell you something about a photograph. If you photograph what's familiar to you, what you love in your house, and then when you're doing this still life has been up in my studio for 2 years now. And every so often, I'll go up to it and I'll start photographing it. I photograph it when it's cloudy. I photograph it when it's sunny. And so when I'm always looking for the change in the weather, and the change in the weather changes the whole feeling of the objects. They have personality. They have life. They have movement. So I got that shape, I got the green down for the table, I got the orange. I'm going to go to this one. Now this is a little oranger. It looks really dark in this particular corner, but it is this beautiful orange and red. And a little bit of green mixed in, so we're going to put that down. And don't forget, I'm not doing any detail. All I'm doing is blocking in everything so that when I get it all blocked in, then I start to do the rest of the work. So painting is looking and executing. Don't be afraid. Charge after it. And you can do it simply by the act of standing at the easel with the brush in your hand. You're painting. I mean, so many people are intimidated by everything in life. And I say, no, you just go with the flow. It's going to happen. And it will happen. I got this whole thing in my mind. I looked at this photograph for weeks. I looked at everything. I was sitting here for an hour before everybody arrived to do the show, looking at this photograph, saying, how are you going to do this? You're really crazy. You got more nerve than you have anything else. And all of that stuff goes in your head. And you know something? If you're an artist, if you're a beginner, you're going to have the same problem everybody has. You just have to persevere. Just keep charging ahead and keep doing it. And don't ask anybody else an opinion. Just do it. And all of a sudden, all of the things that you question will start to make sense. It'll start to fit in and start to show up. And try to keep your brush clean. Wash your brush. I read an article about the Russians. When they paint, every stroke, they wash their brush. That's why their paintings look so magnificent. Now the red. We're going to have fun tonight. We're going to do this painting. We're going to get it down, get it ready. It's going to have life. It's going to have fun. This glass, I look at this glass. My mother-in-law gave me this glass. I love it. It has these crazy balls on it. Oh, really wild glass. God. She gave me a whole bunch of stuff. She gave me, what is it now? Depression stuff. Beautiful red ruby glasses. Oh, God. Beautiful stuff. Treasure all these things. And I put them all in my studio, and I put them on the table, and I look at this still life every day. I sit in my little swivel chair on my computer, and I look over. I'm just making silly little marks on this because they has these funny little light bulbs kind of things. It's like these big balls on this glass. And so how do you do stuff like that? You just make believe. You just put a dab here and a dab there. You're in charge. You're the artist. I'm sketching it in, and you'll see it take shape. It's coming. You get me concentrating, I don't talk. I get my mind, but it's starting to take shape. You start to see this thing. I'm going to step back for a second. You start to see it take shape. It's going to really be beautiful. I know it's going to be beautiful. I have it in my head it's going to be beautiful. It's beautiful to start with. And you know, I've got this vase, and I'm going to make it a little bigger than it is in the photograph because I don't care about the stuff that goes on around other things. I want it to have a shape. I'm not doing any detail. I'm just blocking it in. You got to keep saying that to yourself when you're doing this kind of thing. I'm just blocking it in. It's going to have all of the shape and all of the other stuff as I go along. It'll start to do what I want it to do. All right, we got this done. So I got my blower. This is the time where I take the blower and I take out some of the water. And these are acrylics. And most people can't paint with acrylics because they say they dry too fast. And here I am using a hairdryer. They don't dry fast enough for me. And of course I'm doing this show, and I've got an hour to show you how to do this. This is a fabulous blower. You wouldn't believe what I paid for it. Oh my God. I've had it for 20 years. Unbelievable. Chi blower. That was my other life. I was a hairstylist for 43 years. That's how I put my kids through college. How I paid for my great hobby. And I didn't have to work too much. I worked like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but I worked from 9 o'clock in the morning till 11 at night. 3 days. And I never stopped. I didn't even have lunch. I went to art school when I was a kid. I went to the museum school when I was real young. And I went to the museum school after I got out of the Marine Corps. And I went when I was, after I got out of high school. I loved the museum school. I loved the museum. Oh, Boston Museum is magnificent. If you live in Boston, you should go to the museum. Fabulous museum. I just spent 2 weeks in L.A., and I went to all the museums. I was in San Diego for a week, and I was in L.A. for a week, and I got to go to these museums. And I still think the museum in Boston, fabulous. Although I did get a kick out of the Disney building by Gere, magnificent building. He built this super modern. He's the one that built the MIT dorm buildings in Cambridge. And it's, gorgeous. I took some fabulous photographs. All right, let's see what we're doing here. We got it blocked in now. The colors are down, the shapes are in. If you look at it, it's roughly the same as that photograph. I got to tilt the glass down a little more. I see it when I step back. When you're standing on top of the painting, sometimes you don't see the perspective as well. I really believe you should use a reducing mirror. I use one all the time, and I look at the picture and I look at the painting and I say, oh yeah, this has to dip down further, so it's got to go down. So don't get frustrated, just do it. Just get your white paint and do it. Dip it down. It's down. You know, get it to look like you want it to look. These things, they always look like mouths, these big old circles. Don't get frustrated with any of it, because it's not worth it. It's something you just do. So I start to do some of this stuff. We start to do a little detail. And it starts to change, starts to have more life, more texture. And I say to you, and I keep saying to you, don't take yourself so serious. It's only painting. I had a painting I worked on for 2 weeks, and today I painted it black. You know, so I lose interest. I try to do something with the fog in this painting. It was a gorgeous coastal painting, and it really looked beautiful. I got carried away with my own stupidity, and I messed it up. So no, I did. I painted it black. I'll restore it. I'll do another painting on it. Because I never get to the point where, years ago, I would have taken that canvas and it would have wound up in the Charles River or somewhere. I learned that, you know, all you have to do is get out the black paint, paint it black, start again. Life is like that. You can always start again. Stop getting frustrated. So it's starting to take shape. Now, this isn't dark enough, so we want to make this darker. So what I'll do is I'll take the orange and I'll throw some of this dark green in there. maybe a touch of black. You got somebody out there who complained I didn't mention the colors. Well, I'm using orange, dark green, and a touch of black to get this darkness. I'm going to get it even darker here. I'm not afraid to use black. Some artists never use black. I don't care. I don't worry about other artists. I don't worry about what they do or what they don't do. See, you are the artist. You're the painter. You do it what you feel like it should look like and what you want it to look like, and then do it. And you keep looking. It'll start to happen. You'll start to see it take shape. Be patient. Don't hurry it. Just let it go. I have done paintings that look like photographs. I have spent, well, one painting I worked on for almost 30 years. I started it when I was in the museum school, and I kept putting it away and taking it out, putting it away. If I had my Facebook, I could show you that painting. And it sat for 10 years without me touching it. And then one day I said, I'm going to finish this painting. And all I needed to do was do a little stencil painting on the top of the bottles, so the bottles looked like they were sitting in place. Sometimes you have to get away from the painting in order for the painting to have real life. You spend so much time working on the painting that it loses its essence. That's why I like the spontaneity of painting like this. It has this quality. Nice, 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 nice. Moving right along here. Don't be afraid to repaint, paint again. You know, that's what painting is. Keep on attacking, going back, going over it. Eventually, it'll start to take the shape. You'll start to see it. See, it's got some green in here from this particular bleeding through. Just put it in. See, I think painting is seeing. And I can teach you how to paint, but you know something? The best thing I can do is teach you how to see. How you see things and the way you look at stuff. And it starts to make sense and it starts to show up. Sometimes I'll paint this background 10, 20, 30 times until I get it right where I want it, so it looks like it's stuccoed, like it's the wall. This is just gesso. Nice job. It's only a base paint, it's not the white paint. But I'm building it up. And then sometimes I'll take and I'll blacken the edge of each object. I love to do that too. It makes it stand out. That's that graphicness inside of me. I'm a printmaker by trade and I never lost that. Why I love black and white so much. Like I was saying, I love the drawing part of this a lot. Now, I have no detail in this painting, and it's starting to really take shape. It's starting to have, this vase doesn't look like anything yet, but it will in a few minutes. Great. Moving right along tonight. We're going to fly through this. We started late, but we're going to be off and running. Peace and harmony, that's what we're looking for. I mean, I'll spend an hour on this showing you how to do this, and I'll get to the studio and I'll spend a week to finish it. I try to make it look as easy as I can, because I don't want you getting frustrated. I want you to walk away with the feeling that you can do this. You could do this too. A kid could do this. Hey, I'll tell you a story. My son-in-law, I have all these stories. My son-in-law is a Cub Scout leader. So he brings these kids to me, and they want to paint an ocean scene. And they're going to bring them again. He just asked me if I'd do it again. I'm going to do birch trees. And I'll tell you, an hour with these kids, every one of those paintings was fabulous. I loved it. I liked it better than my own. And they picked up on it. See, the kids, they're so free. You know, we get all of this nonsense in our lives. We think we're adults. be a child, be a kid. Get free. Don't be so frustrated. Don't think that you're so grown up that you can't get down and get into being that painter that you want to be, because it's frustrating to see people who, they want to do something, but they're so afraid. Fear controls more people than they really realize. I tell people, you got to be free. You got to act like, I painted all my life. Even if I got people telling me on Facebook constantly, I used to paint when I was younger, but I lost my talent, I lost my ability. And I said, baloney. You just got lazy, or you got frightened, or you got filled with looking at other people's stuff and saying, I can't paint as good as this person or that person. That's all nonsense. You're a painter, paint. Just get a brush, get some paint, and paint. Don't let anything put you down, or even yourself. And don't show anybody it. Just do it. And then after you've done maybe 100 paintings, you can show one. I had a friend of mine who was a big executive for the Boston Globe. And he said to me, Paul, how long was it going to take me to learn how to paint? I said, about 1,000 paintings. After 1,000 paintings, you should know how to do somewhat what to do. And he said, 1,000 paintings? What are you, crazy? That's forever. And I said, well, no, you don't think it's forever. And I probably painted, 4,000 or 5,000 paintings between the ones on canvas and the ones on paper. So many that I'd lost track of. I've stopped painting a lot on canvases. I do the show, but most of my paintings are done with paper, so I can put them in the drawer. Stop thinking about other people and start just doing. That's the key. You ask me what the key is? The key is not to listen to anybody, not even yourself. Just do it. Set your mind to it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get paints, and I'm going to do it. Loving it, the blue vase. I don't care if it doesn't come out like the photograph. I can get rid of the photograph. If people look at the painting and don't see the photograph, they're not going to think anything of it. It's just that I have to start putting some detail in this. And you'll see me start to do it in a second. I want to step back with my reducing mirror. I think it's in my pocket, it is. And I want to look at it. I want to sit in this chair for a second. You see, if I'm in my studio, I have this big old Mission Oak rocking chair, and I sit in it, and I look at my work, and I'll sit in it, and I'll go to sleep. I'm gone. But I keep looking and looking and looking and looking, getting up and going back and touching up this and touching up that. And all of a sudden, the painting starts to change and it starts to have more life. It starts to be what I want it to be. And the key to this painting, or any painting you do, you do one object at a time. Don't try to do all the objects at once. Just one object at a time. And you're going to paint this, and then in the morning you get into the studio, it's going to have a different feeling because it dries and it changes. Don't be discouraged. Just start again. Just go after it like it's all over. It's like your beginning is all over again. Because I'll tell you something, the more paint you put on it, the better it looks. It starts to really zing. My wife's so excited. She's off to California to see our granddaughter, Mika, and she's been praying all week that the baby won't walk until she gets there. She's standing up and going from object to object, so she's getting pretty close. I was there for 2 weeks, and I was at their house for a week, and in my friend's house for a week, and I couldn't wait to see the baby. The baby was just great. We had a fabulous time watching her move around. My wife had been there when she was first born. This is the second time out there. I get a kick out of my son, John Paul. He says, "Dad, come visit me, come visit me." I get there and he goes away for 7 days. But he had a job, so he works. Great job. I love him. He's a great kid, great father. This is his first child. Here's a guy never going to get married. Got married, never going to have any kids. Now he's got this little 7-month-old sweetheart. You can't say never. People say never, I laugh at them. I said I was never going to do religious art. You look at 90% of my art's religious. Yeah, you know. It's like saying I don't believe in God, and all of a sudden something happens in your life, and God becomes very prominent in your life. That's a blessing. We become seekers. We're always looking. We're trying to find out who we are, what we're here for, what we're supposed to do. If we're lucky, we find out. But I think painting, doing art, doing something creative, it brings you in contact with your soul. There's identity. There's something going on. There's a blessing that's so powerful. It takes away the I. It makes you experience the I am in you. And you watch that Dwyer, and Wayne Dwyer, and he talks about the I am. You start using that in front of everything that you say, and it changes everything you say, and you become more what you're supposed to be. Like I read something and I've been posting it on Facebook, and it says, "The words you speak are the house you live in." And I said, that's a beautiful statement. I love that. It's very positive and uplifting. It can change you. Sometimes we get too smart for our own good. We've got to keep in contact with that child that lives within us. The one that wants to paint, wants to do the stuff. They're starting to do stuff now. This is starting to have some life. And this is what painting is all about. Painting brings you in contact with all of the stuff that rides inside of you. My friend Ted has learned how to paint by watching at the camera. He's been watching now for a year or so. He's having a great time. I love having Ted and Bob, Dr. Jones, all of these people that come and they help me with this show. Because my friend got stuck in a snowstorm in New Hampshire today, Colleen. Thank God we have her assistant here, and he's doing a great job. You can't get frustrated. Things aren't always supposed to work the way you want them to work. The key is to go with the flow. That's the key. You just keep putting paint on the canvas, and it's going to start to take the shape that you want it to take. Oh, God. I just got a green finger. I love it. I talk about green thumb. I got a green finger. I love it. Thank God for water. I'm going to go do that orange again. I was in the studio painting the canvases black today. And my wife says, make sure you don't get any paint on those new pants. I just paid $47 for these new pants. And I look, and there's black paint all over the pants. Completely covered. I says, 15 minutes. Great. We're running right along here. I says, I hope she goes to California and never sees these pants, because I'll have to listen to it forever. Because she's absolutely right. You think I could find my smock? I couldn't even find it to do tonight's show. It's somewhere in that studio. I put it somewhere safe. What a mistake. Should always leave stuff out where you can find it. No place safe in the studio. We need a little yellow to go with this orange. Where the orange looks terrible. Don't be afraid to talk to yourself. I mean, I think talking to yourself when you paint helps you to stay focused on the painting. Sometimes you get so carried away with yourself, you think you're great. Greatness is on the outside. The work is what counts. That's on the inside. I always spend more time on the orange than any other object. It drives me nuts because it's such a delicate light and shadow thing. But you just be patient, you just keep putting paint on it, and all of a sudden the orange will appear. I get these little trays at the dollar store, the Dollar Tree. You get 10 of these trays for $1. And then I bought this, and it fits into this perfect at the dollar store. They haven't had any of these since I told people to buy them. I went back to get some more, and they were gone. It was nuts. I said, I should have kept my mouth shut. You share stuff like this, and it always, people pick up on it. But it makes a difference because it holds the paint forever. This is the oil paints. I got this guy, Jack, that I go to on Saturdays, and I help him paint. He's got cerebral palsy, and I put the paintbrush in his hand, and I hold the palette for him, and I mix the paints. I've been doing this for 5 years with Jack. I get more out of it than Jack. I love him. He's a great guy. Not about all Paul Creamy all the time. It's about other things. It's about things we do for each other and how we like this show. I've been doing this show for 25 years, not because I'm trying to impress you with how great I am, but I'm trying to give you some knowledge about art and painting and how you can just put paint on a canvas, look at a photograph, and all of a sudden that photograph is on the canvas, and you say to yourself, wow, how simple it is. It is simple. But you know, some people, like I said, you got to get over the fear factor. I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that. When you start the I'm not, it takes away the I am. You know? I am going to paint this painting. I am going to make this thing work. I am going to be an artist. I am going to paint what I paint. And when the schools get me in there and they have me do demonstrations, and I do them for all the schools and the colleges and art associations, and I tell them, don't copy the way I paint. Paint the way you paint. I'm just showing you how to approach it. You can approach painting any way you want and make it work, but you should charge after it. Don't sit back and say, oh, I'm not good enough to do this or I can't do that. When you start doing all of that, like the lady says, I got the paints, but I'm afraid to use them. What good is that? Oh, life is a challenge. Live in it. Don't run from it. I'm going to fool around with this. I'm going to put some of this, just a little tiny touch here and there, just to show you that I think it adds a little to the painting. Sometimes I'll go over it. A lot changes. Renoir said at the end of his life, he should have used more black lines around his work. You know, I don't know. Matisse did it. I love Matisse's work. Matisse is one of my favorite artists. And my favorite artists growing up, there was two of them. It was Norman Rockwell and Salvador Dali. So that gives you some insight into my mind. Salvador Dali is in another planet. I mean, it's so far out there you needed to visit him. And yet, Norman Rockwell, Saturday Evening Post, when I was a kid, I used to deliver that. And, I used to be so excited over his work. It made me laugh, and made me smile, it made me say, I want to paint like this guy. I think he's an American treasure. And I think the Americans have ignored him way too much. He's a great artist. Did some fabulous work at the end of his life. I mean, they've got him down as an illustrator, but baloney. He did some magnificent paintings. Nothing's permanent. I just did that to show you can do this kind of thing and it makes it come to you. And I like that. I like it to come at me. I like it in my face. But I go over it and I may paint it out. But I may keep some of it. See, I might have put a little too much in one spot in here, so that's all right. I just grab a brush and I touch it up. I go back and I get the green and I touch it up. When you can paint, you can fix everything. Everything can be fixed. Everything can be adjusted. Love it. And what I've done is I've given it this dimension. I've given it this softness. I've given it an edge. I've given it a sitting on the table feeling. You think that's an easy thing to do, but you learn from doing. Everything you do, you learn. And you start to see things. And you see paintings when you start and they seem like they're floating in space. All you do is put a little tiny black underneath it and it sits down on the table like that or like that. It's perfect. That's why I'm explaining it to you, because I know how to do it and I'm trying to teach you how to see how to do it. Because you can take everything for granted when you're painting and you're not saying anything to the audience and the audience can't figure out what you're doing. This is the whole point of painting. The idea of the show is to make you feel like you have the heart and the ability to do what I just did. And I'm going to tell you, go around your house. Your house is filled with objects that you love. Put them on a little table. Photograph them. Put the photograph up on the easel like this and paint it. And keep the objects right there. I mean, sometimes I'll have this photograph and I'll have the objects right behind me. And I'll look at the objects on the photograph and I'll look at the real objects and then I'll look at the canvas. So my mind is seeing all of the dimensions that these things have. The light's hitting it, the light's coming in on this side's the lighter side. All of that stuff, you can see it's all in the photograph. When you take a photograph, it captures that particular moment. If you're painting the still life, it changes as the light changes. And that's why I don't like painting outside. I'm definitely a studio painter. I have painted outside, don't get me wrong. I like painting outside, but I love painting inside because it's more controlled. And maybe I'm a control freak. But you see this painting here? It does have the power that the other paintings have. It's not finished. I have a lot to do on it. But I wanted to show you. See, but these paintings have harmony, and they're all going to be in the same grouping, and they're all going to have the same feelings. These are finished, and this is, I'd say, it's 50% done. I've got to work on it. I've got to fix this base of this vase here. But that's nothing. It's minor work. It's just getting all of the structure and the shading and the lines. That's kind of a funky vase, the way the light's hitting it and all that wild stuff. And I want to make this white. When I bring this painting back next time, this white's going to be like jumping at you like it is in the photograph. I'm going to make sure that that's real strong. What's happened is I've used the white in so many ways tonight that it's got a little contaminated. So I couldn't go back and keep painting it whiter and whiter. So you got to be careful when you're mixing the paints that you don't contaminate the next paint with the paint you're mixing it with. But that's all minor stuff. You'll learn that you keep separate trays, you won't have that problem. We're getting down to the end. We're getting to the very end of it. So what I've done tonight is I've taken a photograph of a still life from the still life series that I'm working on. I brought it to the studio tonight at the Hanover High School in Hanover, Mass. we have this great theater, this great place to work, this great place to show the work. There's fabulous $50 million school, and they got this beautiful facility and great people working in it. And we put this show together so that you will see painting, feel painting, and want to do painting. Because that's what this is all about. It's not about how good Paul Creamy is or how good his paintings are. It's about making you feel like you could do this by just getting the nerve to get a canvas and paint. So I want to say God bless and good night. Thank you. Good job. What do you think, Teddy? Think we got something?
Yeah,
It fits in. I've got to work on it, but it's there.
yeah.